we have for game number 1. H2K over on the blue, ANX hanging out on the red for this first one. And the first ban, of course, it's Brand.
Yeah, and Brand has got to get taken off the table against this guy. You got to give the respect. Brandon and Nivea likely will not see the light of day here for ANX.
Yeah, I really like these target bans here, and it doesn't hit H2K themselves. That's the beauty of these bans. You ban out Brand, you don't lose any of your own champions in that regard. Taking the Poppy off the board is strong because she has proven to be a very solid foundation that top lane can build on. Yes, you get a small CS deficit, but it's so useful in TPs and so useful in engages.
Especially when you're expected to get a bit of a CS deficit, you can kind of get away with that. Poppy's always has a huge amount of utility, even from behind. And one thing that is kind of really nice for Likkrit is the priority that's coming up on Zyra. Zyra has shown itself as a top-tier pick, and this is a guy who loves AP support, loves Brand, and Zyra being available, something they can go for.
We gotta see the Caitlyn ban come out here. The counterpart Jhin banned out.
Wow.
So this is actually quite peculiar that ANX is leaving it open. This could just be the Caitlyn early rotation here, first pick for H2K. There are some other power picks available. You know, there's the Elise for the jungle position. There's some strong mid laners in the Syndra and the Aurelion Sol, but H2K may just value that Caitlyn pick so much that they will forgo the Syndra and have Ryu counter it if Albus Nox picks it up early.
And we've seen teams do it already, but Nidalee Rise canning what ANX is banned, so very standard for them as well. No target bans required on the side of H2K. They are taking their time though with their first pick because, like you said, Krepo, a lot of top tier champions open in. All of a sudden, Zyra, Caitlyn have kind of been added to that list as well.
And it's almost one of those things when the Caitlyn gets left up, it almost feels like it's a bit of a bait because they want to try to take away 2 power picks. You talked about Syndra, you talked about Aurelion Sol, Zyra has been very high priority. These are champions where you take 2 of those, you probably feel pretty good about giving over that Caitlyn. But at the same time, Forgiven has played it 5 out of 7 times, and it's, wow, it's going to be Jayce.
The narrative completely changes. We had our eyes on strong mid lane champions. We had our eyes on lane dominance in the bot lane, but it's H2K that says, you know what, this pick that everybody questions, this Jayce pick, we're just going to lock it in and play from the top lane. Odoamne has gotten a lot of praise by even international top laners that he's performing super well.
And to be fair, Jayce has got a lot of criticism because it hasn't worked for North American teams. It's been working for everyone else. You know, North America was 0-4 on the pick. I believe it was 9-4 for the rest of the world. So this has been working out very well, just not for the NA teams. And Odoamne has definitely picked up some wins on it here too.
And we've started to see more of it in the knockout state as well, as that Caitlyn does get taken away by aMiracle. It's kind of required. Olaf as well going to join Stejos in the jungle. So what H2K have for picks 2 and 3?
It does ask us the question, what is that Olaf going to be sped up by? Usually you see a Karma or a Sivir. Obviously, you know, Sivir since the Caitlyn is locked in. Are we going to see a relatively boring Karma for Likkrit? It doesn't have much spice, it doesn't have much flair, but it is a strong pushing lane. And H2K's early game strength revolves entirely around pushing in and winning all 3 lanes, and that's why they're going for the Zyra support so early. They really want to lock in that lane dominance.
Works very well with Lee Sin here also. Because you're aggressive, you have this jungler that can stay out on the map for so long, excels at diving, excels at bullying out these lanes, and we're going to see what they do.
I'm so surprised that Lee Sin wasn't a Syndra pick though. Complete misread on that. Many teams are fighting for Syndra first pick left and right. And then this gets left up until the second rotation, purple side. Obviously, this is a game 1 of a best of 5. H2K are considered the better team, and they have room to test ANX out, to feel the game.
And I think part of it is because Vladimir is still available. Vladimir is kind of that safer pick against the Syndra. Bard going to get locked in here for Likkrit. Definitely a playmaker.
Super fun matchup with the Zyra as well. You can actually use her plants against her to proc double stunts that she doesn't expect here. It's very hard to play though, so we'll have to keep our eyes on Likkrit because this matchup is quite difficult depending on what Forgiven ends up going with.
And Syndra, of course, are locking for Kira. Very safe pick. You mentioned Vlad. We could see that, but Kira's going to be happy with the aggression. I love that also Likkrit's happy to give over to Zyra. He was one of the only players, I believe, during Zyra bans in week 1. He's like, that's his other champion if you join the brand and the Bard. So he's happy to play against it. Teams are starting to pick it up, and Likkrit's like, oh, I did all this research already. I already know how good this is.
And although people talk about Likkrit, about the brand, about the Zyra, he played Tahm Kench, he smashed on that. He's playing the Bard now. This guy has flexibility. They can play a lot of different champions.
Yeah, and we're seeing the return of the Vladimir into Syndra matchup here. So H2K kind of going against their style, picking more for mid game, but definitely having some tricky lanes right here. If Forgiven and Vander can make it out with a CS lead in this matchup, they definitely overperform compared to the expected matchup. Forgiven, great CS, a great lane or wave manipulator, should be able to do it still, but it's a tough matchup due to the range advantage that a Caitlyn has over a Sivir.
It certainly is, and something that they're going to have to keep in mind is that Kira is going to have that push advantage.
Yep.
The Syndra can shove in Vladimir, although Vladimir may not die if you play well. You can push him in, you can roam to the side lanes, you can look for TPs with this Gnar, combine your ganks with the Olaf and try to kind of pile in and take advantage of some of these side lanes.
Yeah, but with these two drafts, you're looking at a very explosive mid-game here. Tons of action could unfold, especially around objectives. I'm definitely excited.
Well, teams love to fight, so I think we're going to see a lot of that in this game and this series in particular. Very standard, I will say, as far as picks go. I think Jankos and Odoamne are going to do a lot of work for H2K, getting their early game up. And of course, ANX have put power where they want it. Nice safe bottom lane. Likkrit's on a playmaker. Kira's on a pressure champion. I think both teams get what they want here for the first game. And as the series develops, as is always the case, it'll be interesting to see kind of how these teams play out as the drafts continue.
Exactly. I mean, they're both two very strong drafts. It now comes down to play. And something I'm really going to be tracking in the early game is how these junglers do, because both of these guys have been massive as far as first blood participation for their teams. Jankos, every time he's gotten first blood, H2K has won. So that's something that you definitely have to track. Kind of so goes his performance, so goes H2K's performance.
Well, we'll have to see, but don't forget to vote on Twitter for the team you are supporting. Use the hashtag H2KWin if you're behind the EU LCS people, or the hashtag ANXWin if you want the tournament darlings now at this point. Definitely the fan favorites. You can hear the crowd here in Chicago screaming every time Likkrit is on screen. We'll see if his play can continue to inspire, or if H2K will just continue on that hot streak.
And there's so much to theorize about, so many matchups you can follow. I could talk to you for 10 minutes about this bot lane matchup, because so much is push central in terms of the lane. If you push the minions, suddenly your trades can be winning, but you have a hard time. Range advantages is so delicate. So I'm so excited to see how Forgiven and Vander approach this laning phase.
Certainly expected 2v2 to get things going.
Yep. Both teams going to be spreading out here, line of scrimmage to get things going. Pretty standard starts, and it will be interesting to see how that top lane goes, especially because I do think that if Gnar can kind of get ahead, this is a guy who can become huge front line with the Olaf.
Yeah, and this is also a point of the game where we can look back and we can maybe describe H2K's general style, what got them the 4-0, and was based around winning lanes, and especially Ryu stepping up from as early as honestly, the 0 to 10 minute mark, not scaling into matchups, honestly putting so much pressure forward. But right now, H2K's both bot lane and mid lane have relatively tough matchups. So we need to see if they can alter their style and survive a weaker early game.
Bit of a face check there from Kira, but doesn't eat too much damage. Ryu will get a bit of poke off here. Like you mentioned, that's just standard stuff across the board as everyone's fanning out. Zyra did go back early, but Vander's going to just run back to lane, should make it in time. And looks like no massively deep wards being played. So everyone should have about the expected amount of information here. And as always, early game's going to play a big factor for these two teams in particular.
It certainly will, and it's good that you did highlight Ryu, because he's the mid laner that actually spends the most time on his opponent's side of the lane, pushing in, and that's really what it enables Forgiven to play so aggressively in the bot lane. But this matchup, he will be struggling.
Yeah, look at this here. We see camp start for aMiracle and Likkrit, but they yield the access to the early lane here. Playing into H2K's hand, they get access to the wave early. Yes, there will be an experience lead, but look at Forgiven and Vander here. They really want to punish them for the camp. So double poke here. Not getting any CS. aMiracle being zoned already here. And Forgiven, while he's down in experience, he has the push control. This is their favorite style.
It certainly is. Vander, a little bit of a mistake there, though, not using his Q early enough to actually proc the plant. Could have won that trade a lot more heavily, but now it just kind of have aMiracle at level 2. They're going to be fine. It's mostly about how much CS can they pick up without getting poked out.
But they're not pushing in, and if Caitlyn's not pushing, she can't trade and use her range advantage to get uncontested poke onto the Sivir right now. Right now it's Vander and Forgiven approaching, going for early harass on the tower. And more importantly, the Olaf is pathing to the top lane. This is a point of the game where sometimes H2K overextend and they basically rely on summoners to make them out. They say, you know, we're going to get such a big advantage early that it doesn't matter that we have to flash. The advantage is already there. But with Sejos pathing to the top lane, this is such a tough spot for the ANX bot lane.
And these early levels of why bot lane can be so intricate in the early stages, but like you said, junglers on the opposite side. Sejos quickly farming through the jungle on Olaf. We expect him to be up as far as clear goes, but if we do want Gnar to maybe get some leverage in this top lane, maybe Sejos is going to go there. And of course, the Twitterverse, much like the crowd, is behind ANX for this game.
And Odoamne has that early river ward. He's kind of expecting Sejos just to a full clear, top to bottom. A little bit of variation here from Jankos. He left up the blue buff. We'll see if he is going to try to get up top side, as that ward does still have some time on it. And should allow Odoamne to be okay unless he pushes up too much further.
And you said a little bit of a change-up, and if we went back to minute 2, I just checked, it was a fake leash from Gnar, so it's completely expected for this Olaf to be bot lane right now. Gnar leashed, bot lane did camp. Everybody expects
he's gonna face
there
check
to be
the
no
Olaf.
Olaf here.
Yeah, because it's like, oh no, he is there! And Stejos gonna throw the axe in. Now the damage
Jankos in
comes
so much
down,
trouble.
and he's doing so much damage. Next axe lands, acceleration gets poked about, flashed over, and now Stejos is gonna get aggressive by Odoamne. Jayce takes him down, and now they're gonna work on Smurf. Jankos is low. Smurf jumps on his head, but it's not enough as Odo looking for the early double kill. He is gonna get it. There's 2!
Odoamne comes in swinging, knocks him down. So much early damage from the Jayce.
And ANX, they had to pull back because the Jayce was there so much faster. Smurf came in way too late. He's a level down. Oh, this was a great start. They could have just taken this and backed off. They could have pushed Odoamne out of lane. But look how further back Smurf is. He's not able to join.
Yeah, right there was the retreat mark there, but look at the damage, completely unexpected. Now Odoamne gets 2 kills and double buff. The setup was beautiful. It started with a fake leash by the Gnar. Nobody expected there to be an Olaf in that brush. You could see the surprise on Jankos' face right there, but right now Odoamne taking off. We talked about bot lane, mid lane, and pick and bans, but this guy really making that early Jayce pick work.
There's really no champion worse to have double buffs than the Jayce here. He can spam his spells, continuously poke you out, and he's going to be so strong. It's forcing Smurf to go for this early defensive build, which he really does not want to do. He wants to be building towards Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, something to contest him.
And you can see double armor items up early for Smurf, so Odo off to a flying start here in the top side of the map. H2K already up 1,500 gold. We did expect H2K's laners to get a lead, but top lane was not the one we may have been looking at.
Yeah, and mid lane is staying even CS here in an uneven matchup. Out of mana onto Kira, that's going to be at least 1 summoner, if not a kill.
Oh, Jankos in there with a Swifties. Kira misses the stun, and that's going to force a flash.
Yeah, he needs to flash out.
Yeah, well done. I mean, Ryu uses 1 summoner, but it's a ghost, and trading that ghost for the flash is going to make Kira very susceptible for return ganks, especially once Jankos hits 6, Kira will still not have his flash, and he can look for that.
Yeah, and if you look at Jankos, he has a much higher jungle percentage, or near his lane jungle proximity rather with his laners. He doesn't have the efficiency that Stejos has. Stejos gets more games from it, but that's because Jankos plays more of a supporting role as well. Sometimes he just shows for pressure. He helps little skirmishes that don't necessarily translate into kills rather, but he's always there to support his lane. Super efficient jungler.
Now this gank pretty much has to work here for Stejos. He's coming in.
Smurf's already chunked, and Odo's just going to bail. They spotted him. Stejos, he does know the pink ward's there, but he's level 6 already, and Smurf just cannot compete as Jankos going to walk into the lane as well.
Yeah, and that's one of those moves from Jankos. It's not about getting the kill here, but he's just around to counter gank, always offering support, and then
They can set up the dive.
Oh, but he's diving. He goes in for it himself. That is a 1v1 solo dive as Odo pops up the flare.
That's what happens. You get a serrated Dirk, the double buffs that early, and now Stejos. There's no way he can hold safely here. They're going to push him in. They're going to be able to reset. Odoamne can go back and buy, and this guy is getting out of control. 20 CS up, 3 kills 6 minutes in. Who is going to handle the Jayce?
And Snowball Lane, as we talk about them, we maybe looked at the Syndra for Ryu. Kira takes it instead. We look at bottom lane Forgiven and the Caitlyn. Took the Sivir and gave it away. Odo on the Jayce has been the big story early on, and the rest of the lanes are even. That's game plan going well for H2K.
Definitely. Jankos picked the lane, made his snowballs, and all these other lanes are just doing what they have to. They're playing losing matchups in both mid and bot lane, but look at the CS, bang on even in the bot lane. Ryu even getting some forward pressure already before the real breaking point in this matchup. No Spirit Visage yet, but the early magic resistance helped him pressure out Kira.
And even just forcing out Kira's flash means he can't really push in very much, so that winning lane, mid lane, what was supposed to be a winning lane, he's actually down CS now. He's losing there. Bot lane's going fine, and Odoamne is disgustingly ahead and going to keep looking for these trades.
Smurf can only hop so many times out of those trades as Odo just has so much early AD.
And this is where Odo wants to keep the wave kind of parked right there. Deny some creeps here, these range creeps, taking down some of the CS that Smurf so desperately wants. He wants to lure him in. Make it so that he at least has to overextend in the lane and gets chased down. But it's not freezing. Smurf is happy that this wave bounced back towards his earth, but he's being denied so much CS.
Bit of damage there. Kira with the blue buff. He's going to try and shove Ryu in a little more efficiently, but the early Spectre's card from Ryu should negate most of that aggression that Kira can offer. And now Jankos is moving into the ANX side of the jungle, looking again towards top. He's going to spot a ward, finds Stejos. Ghost around as Kira looks for the pick, doesn't get it. Good collapse from ANX, but Jankos mobile on the Lee Sin, able to get out very easily.
Was a good collapse, but once again, they're going to go for Kira. He has no flash. Jankos has kick. Is he looking?
Looking for it again. Kira, no, not going to eat the Q, and Ryu goes for the dive. Great little juke, but Likkrit's here as well. No, he gets kicked back into the grasping roots, and that will be the inversion. Vander picks one up.
Such a good follow there from Vander. He sees Likkrit missing. He's there to follow up, and although they can't convert on the kill on Kira, they pick up Likkrit.
And that's good communication by H2K. They select a target and they let it be known in team comms, which means, again, that the support can roam. And also look at the wave. It's continuously being parked at the enemy turret. This is Forgiven's favorite style with Vander. That's how they love to play. It all goes back to the level 1. They forwent the camp and they actually just went for the early push, unrelenting. They saw jungler top, they had the freedom. They're finally going even CS here and they're outscaling in that matchup. And then Vander is allowed to roam and just assist in those mid lane fights.
aMiracle doing what he can. He will scale, of course, but does not want to be pressed up against it like this. Vander even looking to get aggressive. Likkrit does return to lane, but he takes some damage there. Forgiving in a step forward. aMiracle going to cover with his own Q, but again, H2K just pushing up all 3 lanes.
Yeah, and if you store 2 seeds, it's impossible for the bar to react because he'll just have his stun be eaten up by both plants right there. Or if you just put a plant far enough, so it's really hard for Likkrit to play this matchup in the defensive. And again, that further illustrates the point why wave push is so important in this matchup. If Likkrit doesn't have plants and creeps in front of him, he can go for the poke, you know, bar Q into trap, but that's completely negated because H2K played the lane much better.
And on top of the map pressure, on top of the CS, take a look at the turret's health in the bot lane. It's actually down below half already. They're well on their way to picking up that first turret, which can just further extend that gold lead, open up the map, which is how they love to play. They can get aggressive and start to take over the jungle.
And this is the side of the map that's not even having that many problems. Odoamne, just to remind you, is still 3-0, building in for a very early-looking Ghost Blade. You can see that CS difference building up. He's almost 25 up on Smurf, and even the individual gold lead. That is absurd for 10 minutes.
This is the largest gold somebody's been ahead from a top lane. 1,400, you know, just top laner versus top laner. The largest at World so far on a Jayce pick, a pick that is inherently so snowbally in its nature. Oh, this is definitely a tough task for ANX.
It's so bad because it disrupts your opponent's build path too. You know, Smurf is essentially on the welfare build now.
Yeah.
He has to go tabbies. He has to just try to survive here. He can't actually build items. Like, when is this guy ever going to finish his Black Cleaver or his Frozen Mallet? Like, what, 30 minutes into the game?
And now ANX might be transferring some of their pressure towards another side of the map. Kira, though, in trouble as Jankos looking to hop in. Good flash from Kira, flash from Jankos as well. Still going, though. Forgiven, forced to pop the ultimate. Staios ultis in and runs towards them, but ANX, no kills coming down. Maybe they'll convert for a push or the Drake.
Yeah, and Jankos, he was so set on getting the kick flash off. He tapped both buttons. That's why he did the very minute flash, you know, very short distances, because any fraction of a second later, the kick would have actually worked. So that was a perfect flash from Kira, essentially trading Jankos' flash for it.
Still, good trade for Jankos as a jungler. You'll take that trade every time, and it means Kira, once again, has to be on the defensive. He has to be on the lookout, because there are ways to gank that lane very easily, even without your flash. Jankos can ward hop over the wall. If he gets up behind him, you're kicked in, you're dead.
Yeah, in about a minute, Ryu can just channel his E, flash in, slow the enemy Syndra. That's enough distance to do exactly what you described right there, Azael. And have Jankos close the gap.
H2K also only getting stronger. Have completed some items here and there. Ryu now looking for that blue buff. Does have that Spirit Visage built up already, so he is a bit behind in CS right now, but he should catch up easily. And he's effectively done what he needs to do. Neutralize the lane, play it safe, and scale towards the mid game.
And Albus Nox Luna, they know they're behind. That's why we see when they run out of base, the jungler and support, they walk together, looking for any semblance of an opportunity. We saw Likkrit move with PvPStejos. Maybe they can get a cheeky portal here and there. Tempered Fate is still on cooldown. That's their way back in. Tempered Fate into a pickoff, outnumbered, but it's so hard. When the mid laner has a pool he can dive into, bot laner has Spell Shield. Where are you going to find these opportunities if you're Albus Nox?
Well, Ghostblade also done for Jayce, so looking good there. Forgiven, showing with some early Berserker Greaves, so itemization looking just fine. Here again, trying to play up, does get a stun off, but Vladimir is just soaking this damage constantly.
He really is, and one thing going well for Kira, at least, he's keeping his farm up, and he can look for those opportunities in team fights. So Jayce right now, he's not building an AMR. That's someone you can look at as the Syndra. If you can wipe this 3-0 Jayce off the map right off the bat, or the Zyra, two very squishy champions, you can even the odds.
Yeah, just a hair short of hitting that stun onto Vander. If he was out of exhaust range, he could have gotten popped here. We're looking for an opportunity. He wants to burn the spell shield before he ultis.
Looking for the play, good spell shield, Forgiven with great patience. Doesn't get distracted by the meeps and will hold it for that Q. aMiracle has a bit more breathing room, has gone back for the early Zeal now, so TF Swords kind of diverging a bit as far as build path goes, and it does feel like now ANX is starting to push the lane out, but H2K already did what they needed to do in the early part of the lane, so they're going to play it nice and safe, and Jankos will visit mid lane again, but just help Ryu push it out.
And H2K is now working heavily on the top lane turret as well. They're pushing in all the lanes, so there's all this gold that they're kind of working towards that they haven't reaped yet. Once they take out top turret, once they take out bot turret, that's where the gold leads can really start to balloon. And just look at these trades for Smurf. There's nothing he can do to fight back.
Yeah, just following the Lee Sin in the jungle for H2K as well. So efficient. Jumps mid, helps clear out the wave. Wave priority, gets the red buff.
Looking to kill Smurf.
This is hard. Jankos going to kick him in, lands the Q. Smurf going to get attacked on. Does go mega. Wallet's him over. Gnar into the wall as well, but that's just enough to get out. And that one hits, and Jankos just snipes him with a resonating strike.
Well played by Smurf to survive, but he gets taken down anyway. This means first turret blood for Odoamne, likely going to be given that solo gold. This guy is going to be huge. ANX on the bot side are trying to take Dragon, at least get something back.
Yeah, Jankos again, that pathing from mid lane to jungle to top pressure. Yes, they yield the Ocean Wig, but H2K don't care. They want raw monetary value right now. We're approaching the 15-minute mark, and they're already sporting a 4.5k gold lead. This is honestly impressive from H2K.
And so much of it is on the Jayce. The Jayce is closing in on hilarious levels of ahead. He's like 2,500 or 3,000 gold ahead now, and this is so well done. Odoamne knows his jungler wants to come top, so he's looking to trade aggressively early on.
Yeah, double pink wards on the minimap. They even saw Lee Sin in the jungle, but at one point there's nothing you can do. You gotta overextend to maybe get some CS, some experience, because otherwise being afraid of the gank will cost you more than the gank itself. And then a couple nice things here. Perfect kick into Q. Smurf gets next to a wall, which means Odoamne's skill shot is perfect. He predicts the juke slightly, which puts him next to a wall. That means Q can't miss from the Lee Sin. So it's all these little things. And yeah, as you said earlier, Azael, bot lane turret at 30%. Ready to fall.
It's just continued pressure. It's what H2K have been known for. And now Stajos, hand in the cookie jar, has been caught in the enemy jungle, but will just get chased out. Does burn the ghost, but not the ultimate to get out there. But you can see Stajos wants to get in and apply some pressure, but it's just not that easy right now.
And it's Odoamne on the roam because he has that turret down, because he has pushed him out. He can look to move around the map and extend his advantage to the other lanes. It's almost the same thing as you see those bot lanes do. Take down the top lane turret. Jayce acts as like that AD carry. If you get some alone time on this mid lane turret, you will crush it as a Jayce.
Yeah, and we looked at some of the interviews as well where foreign players were talking about Odoamne. Impact had high things to say about him. I believe even Smurf said nice things, and honestly, has a history of leading his lane in this tournament. This is the third time in a row, or third time rather, at Worlds that he's up over 1,000 gold at 15 minutes against his direct lane opponent. He's tied with Q-Bait for that exact stat. Right now we see more action.
Ooh, good snipe, but forgiven. I think gonna play goalie. Make sure Squishy Vander does not get aggressed on.
And look where Jankos is. He's behind the bot lane. He's coming down. They could look for a dive here. They have a pink ward in this bush, so they know that they will be able to spot Lee Sin, but will it be in time? These guys are moving up pretty far.
We'll have to see. Jankos again going to play it patiently. ANX do have a nicely placed pink ward there, but Ryu's coming as well, and all of a sudden this dive looks very tricky. Jankos going to line it up. Who's going to take the turret first? Ryu's goes to get. Oh, very creative, but they have to run the other way. Gets taken by Hemo, playing flashes full. Great double stun there from Likkrit, and they're still running into the enemy jungle.
Coming down though.
Stajos there as well, but Jankos going to cut him off the path. There's a snipe. Takes on the path. Miracle tagged as well as Ryu takes one down, and ANX, that's two dead. They have to run.
That shock blaster, clever little pathing there from Likkrit. Did as best as he could to avoid that dive. No chance to live under the turret, so they go for the great escape. They at least force out some summoners, but still, it's 2 more kills for H2K. They're up 6,000 gold.
Jankos looking again, does not get the Wolf Spirit down. Stajos holds onto his jungle for now, but ANX are just busy chasing H2K out of their side of the map rather than applying that pressure, and all of a sudden those two sort of neutralizing lanes in mid and bot are starting to play up and aggressive. Towers are looking to fall, and Odoamne, he's the king of the hill right now.
It certainly is, and with that bot lane turret going down to Forgiven, they can take over the jungle, get that vision, really look to control ANX.
Yeah, and this is the style I like to play. Look at Ryu actually arriving first in this matchup here. It indicates that H2K, no matter what champions they get, they are winning all 3 lanes here, allowing for these roams, and then, well spotted there. That roam from Odoamne is just dirty at this point. Anybody walking into him 1v1 is going to die.
Also clever from Odoamne, he was actually TPing to bot. He saw them escaping, quickly cancels his TP, and moves to collapse, knowing that's the only way they could get out. So very well played from the H2K top lane.
Ooh, Tempered Fate hits on a Vander again. Kira looking for the snipe, gonna line it up. Stun's gonna miss, and that'll be a flash from Vander. Now they might even turn it around. Stajos a little low, but doesn't commit for it, and you can just see they're doing the right things, looking for the picks, but H2K just burning summoners and not giving that gold over.
Yeah, that was the 40 ping skill shot, the 50 ping skill shot, but they're playing on an 8 ping right now. I feel like the Q that Likkrit threw kind of threw Kira off guard, because when your support starts queuing early, you think, I mistimed the Zonias, let's just follow up on it. And it all went poorly at that point. Really good pick off with them, that's what they have to do. Tempered Fate on a straggler, CC him to death, and then hopefully that you can snowball, but the flash from Vander was good enough to get out.
And you can see the itemization for H2K picking up in aggression as the game continues on. Black Cleaver now done for Odoamne, which is insane, and the Proto Belt's done for Ryu, and now Odo is even going to get Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, super aggressive build here from Ryu, just wants to run in and mess with some people.
This is funny, maybe a steal. Smurf's in! Is he all the way in? I don't think he wants it. Looks for the axe, doesn't get it. Odo claims the buff. ANX don't commit into Odoamne.
As a top laner, it feels so bad. You're already so far behind, and now he gets the Rift Herald buff too. It's like, come on, man, give me something.
You gotta Frozen Mallet. He can slow him down as he dies.
Take a little longer to die because he's got a nice big bunch of health. Well, no one wants to go near Odo right now, but H2K, they're going to transfer people to this midsection of the map and see if they can't bust down a turret.
Yeah, from a strategy point of view, they're doing something they've done very often in Europe back in the day. Let's get back to it later because somebody's going to die.
aMiracle getting dove tied to blood. That's more than enough. Goodbye, as Vander claims one.
And that's the 1-3-1 for you. They put the 3 members in the mid lane. They always put Forgiven next to a turret that they want to take down. They have a strong dueling Vladimir with an aggressive build on the side lane. He pushes up, collapses in the mid lane. Odoamne is pushing the top lane. Really good way to close out for H2K.
It's super well done, especially because Kira has no chance of 1v1ing this Vlad right now. He's on 2 items. He can't walk the dangerous way.
Odo 1v2 does flash out of the Axis. Steos going to keep running.
Is coming.
He's ghosted, but Jankos in for protection. Going to keep moving in there. Acceleration gate. Going to try and turn it around. Jankos hops in, looks for the kick. Barely misses Steos. Likkrit's here as well. Can they turn it around? Odo shut down finally. And Smurf going to take him down. And now Jankos getting chased out. Tempered Fate hits 2. But the ulti from Syndra is going to get messed up as a result. Bit of a miscommunication. ANX at least get 1 kill.
Yeah, Jankos actually gets out thanks to that immune. They at least get on the board. They've picked up a kill.
Yeah, you could see that H2K was always looking for the fancy solution out. You know, Odoamne continuously juking, buying time for Jankos to get in. He wanted to get the pinball effect, kick the Gnar into the opponent, especially when you kick a tank. You get extra % damage right there. It all starts with Odoamne slightly overextending. Look at the river. There's no vision even in the enemy jungle either, so he gets 1 juke. 2 jukes right here. As Jankos comes in, he wants to line up Smurf and kick him into Steos, but it's so close to missing.
Just barely misses there, and Odoamne tries to turn that around. If that ulti actually kicked the Gnar through, they might have killed off Stejos.
Oh, so. Jankos, that's dirty! I think he stole the dragon away from ANX.
Ooh, and it's an infernal one too, so everything starts off worse and gets even worse down the drain for Albus Nox Luna. Every play they make seems to get countered by H2K.
I'm also surprised that Smurf actually did go Frozen Mallet. I expected when he's this far behind, just go Randuin's or something and pray to land a good CC chain. Because at this point, he's going to be so quick. Kira's getting kicked in.
Oh, good kick. Jankos finishes it off. The mid turret's going to crumble as well. And it's just all going right for H2K.
Yeah, everybody keeps getting picked off here because they feel safe under their turret, but you're not safe when a Lee Sin and a Jayce are this far ahead on the map. So much pressure right now from H2K. They can be so happy with how this game 1 went.
Safety's an illusion against these guys. They can dive so easily. Vladimir with a Proto Belt. He's so aggressive with it. You can get in there, you can reset the aggro with your pool and look for dives constantly, and it just feels like now there's nowhere safe on the map for ANX.
Yeah, even with slightly subpar vision, H2K is not afraid to just play high pressure on all lanes, because if you commit to ganking 1 lane, there is either a collapse possible or a cross map that they can take. They're playing a very fast-paced League of Legends right now, hoping to close out this game very quick.
Well, they did get the shutdown onto Odo, which is good news. Smurf got a nice influx of gold as a result of that kill. Unfortunately for ANX, it's their only kill of this game, and they're behind 8,500 gold at 22.5 minutes. The H2K pressure, it wasn't as early as we maybe expected, but you can see the items starting to get completed, and they're just insanely far ahead right now.
22 minutes in a quarterfinal at Worlds. 0 towers for the purple side team. Only 1 kill was made there. H2K was en route to take a perfect game.
They are still, yeah.
There was
that is gone. At the same time, now they just look to continue to extend that lead. They don't care about the perfect game. They just care about the win. And Baron is likely going to be the next target here for H2K. They need to establish vision. That's what they're trying to do now. You see Vander moving in, getting a couple wards, and they will look to extend that. Odoamne is going to be in the bot lane. No one can really answer this guy, and they can really start to put some pressure on him.
And this is great because H2K's main flaw throughout the entire season was their mid to late game Baron control. They shorted up definitely in week 2 when they went 4-0 here at Worlds, they're still looking to perfect it, and it's much easier to execute as a strategy and to get a good feel of it within a game against a team when you're this far up.
And if we just take a look at Fog of War from ANX's position, they actually can't see anything right now. They have almost no vision.
They can't see Ryu collapsing on the top side right here.
Jankos looking for a kick. Who's he going for? No, Ragnarok is nice. Now Temper Fate's going to turn around, finds two. As Jankos and Ryu get locked up, but it's not quite enough. Kira moves in for the stun. Jankos low does go down as Likkrit gets him in the stranglehold.
Here's the
knock over. Here comes the chase. Sejos is down. Ryu proto-belts himself under the turret, and it's just carnage here. Ryu looking for more. Goes to Likkrit's own portal. Ties onto two, and it's just a mass Smurf. Finds Odo with a knock-up as Ryu gets caught up on the other side, but Odo managed to take a few more down, and that's 4-1 H2K.
An absolute massacre for H2K. They're going to push straight down mid lane and likely get the first inhibitor of the game here.
Yeah, even if they made some of the right reactions, ANX is just simply too far behind. Love the in-pool portal taking by Ryu right there. Once they changed it so you can zone out in pool, you can do actions in pool, you can obviously take magical journeys.
That's
nice
rude.
dodge right there.
Ryu again gonna get hit up. Kira actually does snipe Forgiven. Ryu's gonna find him as Odoamne looks to dive in, and this Jayce does disgusting damage. Inhibitor still up for now. Can they take it? Odo needs a few more shots, but Likkrit is gonna keep them out. The acceleration gate is gonna bail the team out down the mid lane, but Likkrit still chasing in. He wants a nice angle on the stun. Looks for Vander, does not get it. And they're still chasing. They're actually pretty speedy, but Odo says, all right, let's go for it. Likkrit caught up there, looks to Ryu and gets taken down by the Vlad, and Sejos says, I'm leaving.
And I mean, ANX, they kept chasing. It was just Sejos and Likkrit, though. There was words from H2K. They saw that their AD carry wasn't coming. aMiracle was staying behind. Smurf was staying behind. They just overextended.
Yeah, they're caught in the rabbit hole right now, overextending. It was a nice attempt to stun through the creeps, and Ryu flanks, nice portal to get out. This is all the right approaches, counter-engage with Tempered Fate, looking for chain CC on the Olaf with the trap. This is all a good setup, but they're just simply too far behind. And once Ryu gets access to the backline, even through exhaust, he is killing two people at once. Odoamne even missed Shockwave. It's just so hard for ANX to fight back.
And sure, they kill off Jankos, but it's still the big carries alive. Forgiven is untouched. Odoamne comes in, and this guy was massive, able to clean up so much on the back of this fight.
For ANX, it will be time to start looking forward to the next game.
Quite possibly. Is that mid-inhib's nice and open? H2K did ping it earlier before the replay, but haven't taken it just yet. They'll slow things down just a touch.
Yeah, but they have no issues with being behind in best of series. They reverse swept their way into, honestly, Worlds, starting in their local playoffs right there. They were down 2-0 versus Vega Squadron. Made the 3-0 happen here. They're used to some defeats here. They know that everybody expected them to be, honestly, the underdog, so they're definitely not going to be too shaken up in the next game.
Right now, there's just no one actually answering Odoamne. He can just keep going, to be honest. He has Jankos spotting for him, and he could probably just take down this inhibitor turret so fast if he even wants to pop his Ghost Blade. Gonna play it safe, will back off.
Oh, Jankos.
Jankos never plays it safe, does go in, baits out a couple cooldowns, but Sejos gonna chase him down. Vander keeps him out with the Stranglethorns, but Kira ultis him, it is enough for the kill. And all of a sudden, Jankos a little too much there. That's gonna force the flash out from Forgiven.
Ryu's in the back.
Ryu, good proto-bout's looking for Kira. He's just too tanky. Takes out the portal. Ryu follows him after slaying the Syndra, and they're gonna keep running in. Sejos locked up by the roots as Ryu grabs the double. Now Smurf kiting it out with a frozen mount and a bit of help from aMiracle. Damage is almost enough, but now Forgiven's turn to turn it around. They're looking for Ryu, but they can't get it. aMiracle gonna get his face crit off. Is not careful. Ryu gets himself a triple.
Quadra.
There's the Quadra. They're gonna chase it down for the Penta. Likkrit, don't give it away. He's bailing back to the fountain.
Oh, Ryu's not even gonna go for it. He's going for the objectives instead. But they will pick up at least 2 inhibitors here, and they could even go for more, get a Nexus turret or 2 if they want.
Yeah, they can definitely start hitting these Nexus towers, and this was the equivalent of assuming the fetus position for ANX. Everybody huddled up in the mid lane, looking for a couple of kills, but even with a good engage, it was enough for the Vladimir to step in and start wrecking faces.
And I think the Penta was still on the table, but rare discipline from H2K that we have seen from them as they've moved into the quarterfinal stage of Worlds. Ryu does not overextend for it. They'll reset, take their inhibs, now taking second Infernal Drake for themselves. Jankos stole the first one, just casually takes this one.
And this is just really smart, disciplined play. Very hard to lose from this point. And this was a little bit of a head scratcher from Jankos. He goes in, he's not able to get anything done. But because his team is so far ahead, any fight that they take is going to be good. And look at Ryu coming in from the backside.
Yeah, that was the Ryu flank here. Jankos was basically looking for multiple opportunities. Does he go for a kick flash onto Kira? Does he try to bowling pin a couple of players right there, and in the doubting, he obviously overextended and people disengaged. But then Ryu steps in. So hard to deal with him. He can solo.
Oh, Ryu, he wants it again. Just Hemo plays in onto 2. Now going to keep going for it. Likkrit takes the portal. Kirill goes up, but Ryu in there as well. So this is a wall. They shut him down. Jankos kicks Likkrit. It's a miracle, but Smurf is keeping them all at bay. He's burnt the ultimate as Jankos looks to dive back in. Odoamne very threatening as Likkrit gets tagged and taken down by Jankos.
They're going to keep chasing here. Odoamne's looking for a shock blast.
Don't get it though. Squishy members there as Caitlyn looking very vulnerable. Odo wants it again. Fishes doesn't get it.
Yeah, doesn't get it, but they're all so chunked out that H2K can get access to the Baron area if they want. They don't need it to finish the game. There's no smite available on the other side here. Easy Baron to close out this game. What a gargantuan gold lead they have sporting already at the 29-minute mark.
And H2K could just turn and kill these guys if they want. They have the vision. They see them coming in. They will look to punish the Baron first.
Oh my god, he stole it! Odoamne's going to take him now, but aMiracle stands his ground and slays Odoamne. Smurf going to flush his way in, but he's caught in enemy territory. Jankos able to take him now, but Kira keeps the game afloat.
A little bit of that Baron magic. We saw a couple snug Barons. Now we see Kira stealing away a Baron, keeping ANX's hopes very dimly alive.
Dimly alive. I don't want to be negative, Nancy. I don't think this Baron will matter at all for this game.
Yeah.
But what it can mean in the scope of a best-of-5 series is a lot more, though.
Morale.
H2K is showing some weaknesses, and there's definitely a morale boost here for ANX as the crowd gets behind them again.
Just a nicely timed combo there from Kira. Get something back, and even if it is just that moral victory, it's gonna feel a little bit better.
Oh, that hurts.
It does. Look at Likkrit. He's like, all right, nice. Managed to get it done there. And now they've got Ryu again. Pretty tanky on the PvPStejos, and Likkrit going to work on it. Miracle is some real DPS.
Jankos
Ryu does
looking.
not care as Jankos will defend his mid laner.
And it's hard to judge H2K. Is this the way they will close out a game if the gold lead is not as big? We don't know. These are some of the weaknesses they've shown in the past, but it's so easy to get lost on the map when you have this large of a gold lead. So I will hold my judgment until we see the next game. But it's definitely, if you want to go cleanly into semifinals, you want to keep the games fresh and, you know, not lose too much energy yourself. You gotta close quicker and better.
You certainly do, and I think that they have to show that dominance, especially, you know, if they want to show how far they can go in this tournament. But H2K now, they are looking extremely strong. 2 inhibitors down. I'd like to see Odoamne in the side lanes, pushing in the waves, getting that going for them, and then the team move up to the top side, wait for those waves to push in, siege the last inhibitor turret.
Definitely, they can do any variation of 1-3-1 or 1-1-3 here.
I don't know about this TP. I feel like that's a bit of a waste from Odoamne. I think they could have just walked out, but I guess they really just want to push the issue.
The reason they do it like this is because they don't want the Gnar to push out another wave in the bot lane. Big creeps can push on their own, especially when turrets are taken down in the lane already. He just wants to get the top lane poke. Remember, H2K can just die. They're still over 14,000 gold ahead. Baron buff on a couple of members doesn't really matter at all.
Ryu's taking some damage. Kira attacked by Jankos. Kicks him in. There's the pick they needed. Vander gets himself another kill. As Odoamne is going to take some damage as well. Miracle on the crit. Working on it, but the Fizz is going to pop, and that's going to be Odo still going down. Jankos actually now in trouble as ANX might have turned this around for Given. Has to be careful. There's a nice Stranglethorn. Is going to keep the rest out. Ryu, though, getting chased down by Smurf, and he has to leave the base. Just missing the wallop there for Smurf. Doesn't commit the ultimate, no flash, and can't make the big play. But H2K starting to run out of ways to break the rest of this base.
Yeah, pick off mid on the Syndra. Immediate reaction from Likkrit coming out with the Tempered Fate top.
A really good job by them, and they do get one back. ANX is holding on, and H2K not doing a great job of closing this out with a massive lead.
Stales caught again, but he's pretty tanky on the other side. Likkrit, no ultimate, still fishing for cosmic bindings. H2K doing what they can, but it's hard to push through this Baron buff. Smurf can defend this Nexus top for as long as he can.
Yeah, and in the opening sequence of today, Likkrit was talking about this. If you play not to lose, you're always going to lose in the end, because if you play to win, that's what you got to do. And that's what ANX is doing right now, continuously looking for picks, fighting their way out. If it backfires, so be it. They don't care if they go down 10,000, 20,000. But right here, look at the minimap. The second they get caught here, they don't look to help. They put Tempered Fate onto Odoamne, into Trap, into Q. Holds Exhaust until the CC is over. Look at the disengage from Miracle though. Max range, nothing gets interrupted. It's honestly a perfect setup onto Odoamne, who was super fed.
That was so well played, and even Kira getting his ultimate off, having the presence of mind to do that, means that Ryu cannot go aggressive to follow that fight, because he was chunked out too. So some little things making a big difference there for ANX. Their inhibitors are back now, and they are scaling.
This is close to as a reset in this game as we were going to get.
Always scaling, Krepo.
Always scaling.
Always scaling.
Go for late game, guys.
Late game, doesn't matter.
Eventually, they run out of item slots. That's what I tell my team every time.
Well, still plenty of slots to fill for ANX as far as their items are concerned, but maybe give it 10, 15, perhaps 20 minutes, and we could see. We've seen the magic from ANX before. We have another Infernal Drake spawning, though, and H2K going to look to take that. The odds are certainly stacked against Albus Nox Luna this particular game, but we've seen crazier things already.
They are massively, especially the fact that Jankos stole that first Infernal, and now they're kind of staring down the barrel of the shotgun with third Infernal on the map. If you get all three of those, it's such a massive advantage, and Jankos is behind them. They're looking for a fight here.
Big play again. He pops around you and stacks Kira, but he gets stunned up. Jankos gonna go down here. Kira burns the ulti, but there's the snipe. Takes him down. Ryu in the backline, doing so much damage as Miracle gets a shutdown, but it's just too much for H2K. Clean up 3 for 1, and Smurf and his GA gonna run back.
Yeah, beautiful flanking from H2K. Jankos is just distraction. If he kills somebody, it's nice because it just gives Ryu access to the backline.
Certainly does. Ryu is the hero of this fight. He comes in from behind. They lose their jungler, but he takes down the AD carry, and they're looking to push and perhaps end the game right now with minions coming in.
They're just zoning him here. Likkrit did make it back, but Miracle
Oh!
dead. That was dumb, as Odoamne destroys the poor support. H2K going to push in, look to try and take this game down. And that's going to be it here. Smurf zoned out of his base. Going to get all in by Odo. Does take him down for the GA as the rest of his team is going to rip through the Nexus turret. Smurf flashes out. Does not want to give away one more kill. But there's the first Nexus for H2K.
Europe strikes first blood as the NALCS is H2K. EULCS, by mistake, is up 1-0 here in the quarterfinals. And they are looking good. They had some blunders in the late game, but their laning was so dominant. Odoamne, a huge star here, and worked very, very well with Jankos in game 1.
But this game says so little about the series because it all started, honestly, with a blunder in the top lane. And it couldn't be any worse for ANX. 2 kills and double buffs onto a snowballing champion like the Jayce. But despite it being such a large goal deficit, and honestly, let's call it what it is, a stomp.
Yep.
This was so entertaining to watch, and you could see semblances of ANX trying to fight back. So this was one of the more enjoyable games with a large gold lead that I've seen so far.
Yeah, and I actually do love the way that ANX played it because I do agree. You can kind of joke as much about like, oh, if you're playing not to lose, then you're going to lose. But it's true because when you're 10K, 15 behind, you have to choose your fights. You have to take your moments to try to hope that your opponents mess up a fight.
Yep.
And you can get a big win and get a bear and do these things because if you don't, you will simply get choked out of the game. You lose control of your jungle. There's no way to come back.
Yeah, and then we saw a bit of the failures in Baron setup sneak back into H2K's gameplay. Obviously, it's so hard to say, like, has H2K forgotten how to Baron again? No, I don't think so. I think they got bought into the hype that they were so far ahead and they were skipping some steps. But it's good morale boost for ANX. They don't care how they got that Baron. They just care that they got it.
Yeah, and a lot of the fighting that we did see, despite how far behind they were, was a lot of how they got to this spot in the tournament already. If the game is much closer and they are able to either win some lanes or just stabilize them, how much better does that feel for ANX? Sure, it's a big loss for them, like you said, a stomp, but they have to think that we can definitely do it.
Yeah. And if there's one thing for H2K to be worried about, to me, it's not the Baron. It's the fact that they're kind of getting picked off in the late game, not really closing out super cleanly. But we'll see if they can fix that up in game number 2.
Well, we certainly are, but we are going to hand it back to Dash to break down that H2K victory.